Okay, so welcome back. Today is wing day, the right wing panel we're going to be building. I think I said the fuselage was going to be next, but according to the manual, this is what they want done next, so we're going to do that. The die cut on these ribs was very good. I basically just pushed them right out. Everything came out nice and easy, didn't need my knife. I did, however, break one of them right here. I broke that piece off. But a little bit of CA is good as new. In fact, it's better than new now. It's nice and strong. I inventoried all the ribs. These are the ribs for the right-hand wing panel. I've also inventoried the left-hand wing panel, and they're all stacked up over on the side over there, ready to go. I had bought an eBay kit in the past and was building it, and it was a Gentle Lady 2-meter sailplane. Got the right wing all done. Found out not all the ribs were in the box for the other wing, so that's not going to happen to me again. So basically, I inventory everything, and there we go. So I'm going to start laying these out. I'm not gluing anything yet. I'm going to lay them out, make sure this spar fits perfectly into the bottom notch here. Hopefully, we won't have to sand and make any adjustments. That's the way it's going to go for now. The instructions say put the number 3 ribs and the number 4 rib in place with the bottom spar, the bottom trailing edge sheeting, and the trailing edge section here. The aileron will be up here. But I just wanted to show you before I did that what I have here. I made these perfectly, well, I bought the blocks of wood from Amazon and these magnets, and I epoxied them on, and basically they stick together like this. And what I do is use it to hold the rib perfectly vertical. It works really well. The magnets are weak, so it's not going to crush the balls or anything. It's just enough to pop into place. Okay, a couple of things for the new builders. We want to start our day every day. I buy a bunch of these X-Acto knives. I think I have about 50 of these blades. But I always start the day with a brand new blade, just because it's a good idea. My glue, I put a new tip on here every once in a while. Every few days I'll put a new tip. And then after I cut it, I'll test it. I'll see how much comes out. Maybe I made the hole a little bit too big. I'll get another one. They're real cheap, but I'll do that. Test pour. My razor blade is always new. I use it a lot. And keep your board, your table clean. Get your vacuum cleaner out before you start any new sections. Get your vacuum cleaner out and vacuum it all off. If you have any little pieces of balsa underneath here that could be holding this up, you don't want that. So we want to be able to build as smooth as we can. And also, when you have little pieces of balsa underneath this really soft wood, it can dent it. So that will have to be dealt with. We'll have to sand it, fill it, or do something, but we don't want to leave it like that. So clean your board, get a new tip for your glue, a new blade for your knife, and start the day. Okay, before we go any further, a couple of things I want to show you while this is drying here. This is a spar, and this is the rib fit onto the spar. You want to make sure that the top of the rib here is all the way down flush on the spar. You don't want it raised up like this. You don't want a gap on the top of the rib here, on the top of the spar. That's going to be a weak point. It should always fit flat. The same when we come back and do the top. We want to make sure that there's a absolutely perfect fit here. And this rib, it's absolutely perfect. I think all these probably will be. One more thing I wanted to show you was I took my ruler here and I verified that as these, before I glued them in, that they were all going to be flat across there. And they are. There's no raised ribs or lowered ribs to deal with later. So far, so good. We're perfect. Okay, so we got the outboard trailing edge glued to the bottom sheeting here. We have an R5 rib here that's not glued in yet, according to the instructions. I used my steel ruler there to make sure that this trailing edge section was straight. Next thing they wanted me to do was to pull out the leading edge and start gluing it into these existing pieces here. It took quite a while to fiddle with it because some of these ribs notches aren't obvious. Like, there's no rib drawn here, but there is a notch for something there drawn on the plans. So after I fiddled with that for a while and decided which way was the right way, I went ahead and marked the leading edge here. I don't know if you can see this. I marked an L here for left and an R down here for the right, so that when I take this off I don't have to play with it again and get confused with how it goes. So I'm trying to decide if I actually want to glue that leading edge in yet, or if I want to go ahead and put some more, maybe skip a step. The next step, I'm putting some more of these ribs in. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back to that leading edge. Okay, so I got the rest of the ribs, except for the R7 rib. I still have to put that one in, but they're all glued in. And as I was going along, I wanted to make sure that all of the tops of these ribs, lined up perfectly, and they do. There's no dips, there's no raises in the ribs, so the sheeting is going to go on there really nicely. I still haven't glued in the leading edge yet, but that's probably coming up real close. I'm ready to do that, so I'll do that in a minute. But the plans say to go ahead and cut this trailing edge, this sheeting off here. This is where the aileron will be, so this will be trimmed off, and that'll be next. And then the top spar will be going in, and we're moving right along. Okay, so I came into one little situation here. This outer trailing edge was just a bit long right here. I should have checked that before I started gluing, but it's okay. I just extended that notch a little bit so this rib will come in and fit here and be lined up perfectly within the plans. Not a big deal. And then I'll have just a little bit of it to cut off on this end here, but that's easy peasy. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and glue that in, and then we're going to let this whole thing set for about 30 minutes. I'm going to take a little break, and then we'll remove it from the plans. I'll cut out this bit of sheeting here that doesn't need to be there, and then we'll put the top spar in, and then we'll see what's next. Okay, so I've been working on the wingtip here. I got the tip spar put in. There's a notch here for rib 8. I glued together T1, 2, and 3 on the plans, pulled them up, and sanded it. I had to make a small adjustment up here to get this to fit in right, but otherwise it did pretty good. There was a small gap down here when the wood was resting in its natural position, so I had to pull it in a little bit. But I wanted to make sure that this rib here remained square. This is where the aileron's going to be. I didn't want to pull the tip of this rib out in any way. I didn't want to deform it. So I just carefully held that down and pulled that in just a touch, not even a 1/16 of an inch, and then I glued it up. So that's where we're at now. I'm letting that dry, and then we'll be moving on to the spar pieces that go in between here. Okay, so while I'm waiting for the wingtip to dry there, I want to show you something I got in the mail. My Hobby Zone Cub up here that I like to fly is about 10 years old now, and the batteries that came with it, the 1,000 milliamp batteries, won't hold a charge anymore. Normally I should get a 7 or 8 minute flight out of a battery pack. I'm getting like maybe 3, so the batteries aren't holding the charge anymore. I guess they're too old. I searched the internet, couldn't find them anywhere, couldn't find the replacement battery packs. They're out of production, out of stock. I looked absolutely everywhere, couldn't find the original. So eventually in the UK I found a company that makes these 1600 milliamp batteries, 1.6 amp, exact same size and everything, same connector. So I ordered 3 of them. They weren't very expensive at all, so maybe I gave my Hobby Zone Cub new life by ordering these battery packs. And because they're 1600 milliamp instead of 1000 milliamp, I'm excited to see what kind of performance I'll get out of it. So we'll see. Had a bit of snow today, and I'm starting back to work for a week tomorrow. So maybe next weekend I'll get to take the Cub out and give it a try. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is put in this last R2 rib. They're telling us in the instructions to line it up and glue it to the leading edge, but don't glue to the spars yet. Didn't mention the trailing edge, so I'm going to leave that for now. I'm not going to glue that. I'm just do what they say. Actually, it was very tough to put this piece, get it slid in here. I really had to twist it, and I was afraid I was going to break it, and was thinking I might have to cut it. But I didn't. I worked at it slowly, got it in there. And again, I used my ruler here, my steel ruler, to make sure, before I glued it, to make sure that it's the exact right height here. So that's perfect there. And then I took a piece of scrap sheeting and make sure that that was going to be flush with the leading edge there, because this is going to have, there's going to be sheeting on the front here, and it has to be flush there. So that looks good. It's all lined up. It's in here. It's positioned perfectly. So now I'm going to go ahead and glue it. The next thing that we were supposed to install, according to step 24, is we're supposed to glue in these shear webs. These are vertical grain. That's very important. They were pre-cut with the kit. I did not like the way they fit at all, so I cut my own. I always have a lot of extra sheeting and balsa. I have a massive amount of spare balsa. So I cut them to fit better the way I like them, for a professional look. And some of them were a little short, and I didn't like the looks of that, so I made some new ones. It only took a couple minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and glue those in now. what I'm going to do next, I put the wing vertical in a vise down here, and I'm going to use the thicker CA, and I'm going to put a bead everywhere along here, the leading edge, the trailing edge, and where the spars join in. I'm putting a good bead of the thicker to be my permanent glue joint. Okay, I got a few more things done here. I got this gusset reinforcement piece here, and I got the blocks for the aileron hinges installed, so there'll be something for them to grab onto. I got the blocks for the wing strut mounting points. They had me add this little triangular piece on top of here, and there's the forward piece there. The problem is with that triangular piece on the forward section is there's not a lot for it to glue to. The rib cutout causes an issue there. So I think what I might do is get the cutout out of the trash box. I don't know if I showed you this before, but I don't throw anything away. All the pieces are in there, all the scrap pieces. Everything is good until the project's done. So I'll probably glue that back in to give that something to adhere to. Okay, so I got the forward top spar in, nice, all flush, didn't have any issues, no sanding required. However, the bottom spar didn't quite fit in right. The ribs need the notches cleaning out a little bit. Some of them, the notches weren't deep enough, so I need to tweak on that and get the spar put in there. And then the last thing is the spar ends here have to be cut at an angle for the dihedral. Now the manual shows using this piece here to mark the angle with, and it tells me where to find it, but when I go to that sheet I don't see the part that looks like that. So I have some a little bit of research to do. I'll figure it out, and then we'll get that punched out, we'll get the spars marked and cut. And then that's about it for this wing. Okay, so I think that's where I'm going to leave it off for today. When we come back, I'll have those spars cut for the dihedral angle, and I'll have decided what I'm going to do with that strut mounting block, and I'll have the lower forward spar put in. The manual says set that aside and build the other wing. So when I come back, I'll have both wings done, and we'll be working on the center section, getting them joined up. Thanks for tuning in today, and like if you want to, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you here back next time.